You've prayed the same prayer so many times you've lost count. You've said the right words. You've believed or tried to believe with everything you had. And still, nothing changed. The diagnosis stayed. The relationship stayed broken. The door stayed shut. So you started asking a different question. Not will God answer, but does God even hear me anymore? You've replayed the verse in your head. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. It sounds so simple when you read it. It sounds almost mechanical, like a vending machine. Insert prayer, receive answer. But you've asked, you've sought, you've knocked until your knuckles were raw, and the door didn't move. What if the problem isn't your prayer? What if the problem is what you think prayer is actually for? By the end of this video, you're going to see Matthew 7:7-11, the way it was actually meant to be read, and it's going to change what you expect when you pray. Here's an image to hold on to. Think of a toddler in a kitchen, tugging on his father's sleeve, pointing at a knife on the counter. He wants it. He's asking. He's not being ignored. He's being loved enough to be told no, or not yet, or here's something better. A good father doesn't measure his love by how many requests he grants. He measures it by what he knows his child actually needs. Hold that image. We'll come back to it. Now let's set the scene. Matthew 7 sits inside the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is mid-teaching, talking to people who already believed in a God who answered prayer. That wasn't the debate. The debate was about character. Who is this God, really? Is he stingy, distant, keeping score? Jesus doesn't respond with a formula. He responds with a comparison. Which of you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? He's not teaching a technique. He's revealing a father. That distinction matters more than you think. And to understand why, you need to meet two people. The first is the striver. The striver treats prayer like a transaction. He believes if he says the right words, in the right posture, with the right amount of faith, God is obligated to respond. So when the answer doesn't come, he panics. He assumes he did something wrong. Maybe his faith wasn't strong enough. Maybe he didn't fast long enough or word the prayer correctly. He starts striving harder, praying longer, pleading louder, because in his mind, the silence is a performance review, and he failed it. The second is the abider. The abider prays the exact same request, sometimes with the exact same desperation. But underneath the words, something is different. The abider isn't approaching a vending machine. He's approaching a father. And so when the answer doesn't come the way he expected, his identity doesn't collapse. He doesn't wonder if he's been abandoned. He wonders what his father sees that he doesn't. Same door, same knock, to completely different postures underneath. Hear this clearly. Jesus never says every knock opens the exact door you pictured. Look again at verse 11. How much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him, not the gifts you specifically requested. Good gifts. That word is doing more work than you've given it credit for. The striver hears ask, and you will receive, and stops there, as if the verse ends mid-sentence. But the abider keeps reading, because the promise was never that you'd get exactly what you asked for. The promise was that a good Father is incapable of giving you something that harms you, even when you're the one asking for it. Think back to that kitchen. The toddler didn't get the knife, not because his father wasn't listening, because he was. That's not a smaller promise than the one you thought you were praying into. It's a bigger one. Not a vending machine, not a transaction. A relationship with someone who actually knows what good means, even when you don't. So what do you actually do with unanswered prayer? Not spiritually, practically. What changes on a Tuesday afternoon when the answer still hasn't come? Here are 3 shifts, not techniques, postures. Switch 1, the ownership switch. The flip, stop treating your request as the finish line. Start treating your relationship with the Father as the finish line. The practice, the next time you pray for something specific, add one honest sentence at the end. But you know what I actually need better than I do. Not as a resignation, as a recognition. You're handing the toddler's knife back to the Father's hand, on purpose, every time you pray. Switch 2, the definition switch. The flip, stop letting no or not yet mean unheard. The practice, when you notice yourself spiraling into God isn't listening, pause and Rename what's actually happening. Say it out loud if you have to. This isn't silence. This is a father deciding what's good. You're not changing the outcome. You're changing what the outcome is allowed to mean about him. Switch 3. The patient switch. The flip, stop measuring God's love by response time. The practice, keep a short list, 3 or 4 prayers from years ago, that were answered differently than you asked, and turned out better than what you wanted. Read that list on the hard days. Let your own history testify against your panic. Here's what life looks like on the other side of this. You still pray specific prayers. You still ask boldly. Jesus never once tells you to stop asking. But something underneath softens. The waiting doesn't feel like punishment anymore. It feels like trust being built in real time. The way trust is always built, not in the moment the door opens, but in the space before it does. You stop auditing your own faith every time an answer is delayed. You start recognizing your Father's fingerprints even in the not yet. That's the whole difference between striving and abiding. The striver treats every unanswered prayer as evidence he failed. The abider treats every unanswered prayer as evidence he's still being fathered. It's not about getting the answer you asked for. It's about trusting the one you asked. It's not about the door opening on your timeline. It's about knowing whose hand is on the other side of it. If this spoke to something you've been carrying, comment below. Father, I trust what you see. Let that be your prayer today, not instead of your requests, but underneath them. If this helped reframe something in you, share it with someone who's been knocking for a long time and starting to wonder if anyone's on the other side. And if you want more of Scripture, explained simply, the way it was actually meant to be understood, subscribe to Bible Revelation. This is what we do here.